Let's take a look at a case that occurred recently. This case was from August 29th of 2014, 7 a.m. in the morning. This couple is walking their dog and they see these three objects at treetop level. They make this drawing that you see right now, and they also took pictures with their cell phone. The object is metallic. It has a glass dome on the top of it. It's black in color, but it has red lights on it, and it's silent. But the strange thing about it, which they thought was very strange, was that it was moving. Instead of being pushed by the engines, it was being pulled by the engines. It was moving in the direction of the engines instead of being pushed by the engines. So this is a local case that we have that I think is very interesting, and we're investigating this at the current time. Right now we want to switch gears and speak to our guests about Bigfoot and cryptozoology. So why don't we first start off, what does cryptozoology mean?
Well, first of all, thanks for inviting me on the show today. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here to be a spokesman for our group. Cryptozoology is basically the study of unknown or hidden animals not recognized by science. That includes creatures like Bigfoot, Mothman, Chupacabra, and the like.
Okay. I actually read recently that biologists, they say that we've only discovered 30% of the species on this planet. So in the oceans and the forests, there's 70% of the species that we haven't even found yet. So technically that's cryptozoology until we categorize that and identify what they are.
Yes, definitely. There's new species of animals being found every year. New species of monkeys in different parts of the world. So, but until they're actually found and categorized or studied, then they remain cryptids.
Well, even the extinct species like the coelacanth that they found off of South Africa that they said died out 60 million years ago, and they find them still alive. That technically, that's cryptozoology. If you find a dinosaur, they're not supposed to be here now.
Yes, that is another aspect of it. They did find the coelacanth in, I believe, 1933 off of Madagascar. It was supposedly extinct for years, and they ended up finding it. So.
Okay. All right. Fred, now Bigfoot. There's a lot of hunters in Pennsylvania, a lot of sightings of Bigfoot. Tell us about Bigfoot. You know, why haven't we found a Bigfoot? Tell us some good cases.
Well, I think first of all, when you look at Bigfoot, there's two actual models. It's number one, he's flesh and blood, and number two, he's interdimensional or alien. I believe that Bigfoot is actually interdimensional or an alien. The hunters that go out there, he's not there. He can go back and forth. He comes back and forth in this dimension, or he gets into a UFO.
So they see him and then he's gone?
Well, a lot of them see him, and I mean, they just don't come out and say it because they're ashamed. They think somebody say they're crazy. But you talk to some of them and they'll say, like one we know of was in a tree stand. And he was actually on Finding Bigfoot, where he seen the Bigfoot, and he had him in he had a bow and arrow, and he was going to shoot him with it. And Bigfoot actually tells him, "Don't shoot," and they do it.
Telepathically?
Telepathically.
Okay.
Nobody's actually ever spoke to one.
So,
everything's through telepathy.
So we're saying Bigfoot then is maybe a very advanced creature with a high intellect.
I would say he's more advanced than we are.
Now, what do you mean by it's interdimensional? What does that mean?
He can go from dimension to dimension. I mean, it's not that he's from here. He can come and cross over into another dimension.
Well, physicists, even Michio Kaku, physicists say that there are 11 dimensions, and they're right around us. You know, and that may explain ghosts and some of the other paranormal activity that takes place.
I would say that if we really look at it, I think if you look at ghosts, Bigfoot, and UFOs, you probably have something in common with all three of them.
Okay, but there are people who say that it's just strictly nuts and bolts. It's a craft that came here from another planet. They made the 4 or 5 million light year, trip. But you're saying that there's another camp that says that this is this can be interdimensional, or even a creature, a crypto that's always been here, another species on this planet that we haven't discovered yet.
When you look at Bigfoot, we go back to the Native Americans back in the 1800s. You'll see pictures of Bigfoot carved on stones back there, UFOs carved on stones back there. And also, they talk about Bigfoot or Sasquatch coming down in the moon. They say that
full moon, when there's a full moon?
No, the moon. There was something that came out of the sky and landed. They called it the moon.
Oh, okay.
It was actually a craft. And they would let the crazy bears out. And the crazy bears were actually Bigfoot. So we're talking back in the 1800s. And I mean, there's been numerous sightings of Bigfoot on UFOs and around UFOs. Like a lot of people say, well, because you see them around a UFO, that don't mean nothing. But if you got a Bigfoot in a UFO and there's 100 sightings the same area of both of them, I mean, come on, there's something there.
Didn't we have a fairly prominent case in 1973 in the Uniontown area of a Bigfoot and a UFO? What happened with that?
Well, allegedly, you all use the word allegedly, two brothers were driving down the road to their farm. They seen a craft, something come down and land. They went back in the woods. And as they get there, they see a UFO, brilliant white, and they see two Bigfoot walking along the fence line. So he fires, the one of them fired a shot, and Bigfoot threw up his hand, and the UFO vanished. And it ended up they had the police there and everything else. I mean, it was a very big case.
Now that hunter says he was certain he hit the Bigfoot.
Right. He gave out a scream.
Oh, he did.
Yeah,
Okay. And then did the Bigfoot run, or did it just disappear?
It walked away.
It walked away,
Right.
and the craft then disappeared also.
Yeah, right.
But wasn't there something also that happened when they went to where the craft was? There was a circular burn in the ground.
Yeah, and it was, you
glowing
could
circle,
actually, you could still read the newspaper there a couple hours later.
Well, that's right. It was glowing at night that you
Right.
was read
The
a newspaper article.
Right.
And didn't, like the following day, some investigators came down, and one went in, was standing in that circle. He became disoriented and actually fell to the ground.
That was one of Stan Gordon's researchers, I believe, yeah.
It was one of the guys that was there. He started talking in foreign language and acting all crazy and everything.
So there was something going on there
Right.
that kind of just made him delirious, possibly.
Right. Yeah. And the second case would be up in Purkew, how do you pronounce it?
Prescott State Park.
Prescott
in Erie,
State
Erie,
Park.
Erie,
I
Pennsylvania.
can't pronounce it. This was back in, I think, 65 or 66 also, where something landed up there and an alleged Bigfoot got out.
Yeah.
And again, if you look at the tracks were like, I don't know how big, but they weren't bear tracks. And, you know, again, the government says that there's no such thing as a Bigfoot, it was a bear.
Yeah.
But there's been numerous sightings, in especially Fayette and Westmoreland County.
But that case, you actually wrote a chapter from my
Right,
book, UFOs over Pennsylvania, and a
Right.
lot of the cases we talk about are in this book.
Right.
We have pictures in here
Right.
of the actual occurrence, and it left some sort of wasn't there like a slimy substance
Right,
on the
right,
sand,
right.
and they didn't know what it was?
Right.
I mean, you can imagine they're stuck on the beach, and I think the girl was in the car, and
was
somebody
two girls
in the car, and then
yeah.
the guys went for help.
One guy went for help.
One guy, and then this creature shows up.
Right.
And were there scratches on the vehicle also
Yeah.
from where
Yeah.
it was? And they found
They found impressions.
And
They
they
found
found
impressions,
triangular
right? There were
impressions in the
impressions.
sand.
And so we actually got pictures from that.
Right.
Reverend Swoop helped us
Yeah.
with that
Right.
up in Erie,
Erie, right.
because he had investigated that case also. That was one of the bigger cases in Pennsylvania.
Right. But again, you look at it, you had Project Bluebook come in, and they were nothing but a debunking organization. I mean, if you look at the prints that were there, the state police actually took the cast.
Okay.
But then the military came in and said, well, this is nothing. But they made it an unknown case.
Okay.
So,
And Project Bluebook ran from 1952 to 1969,
Right.
and that was the Air Force's investigation, really, of UFOs and
Right.
anything else that was unexplained. And they looked at almost 13,000 cases,
Right.
12,700, but they classified 701 cases as being unidentified,
Right.
unknowns.
Right.
So technically, those are your UFOs.
that was the one of them that was classified as an unknown.
Okay. Now in other countries, they call Bigfoot different names.
Yes.
Right. So tell us about some
Well,
of that.
yeah, these ape-like creatures are basically seen all over the world. For example, in Australia, they call it the Yowie. In the Himalayas, they call it the Yeti or the abominable snowman. In Russia, they call it the Almast or Almasty. So these ape-like creatures, they are seen all over the world. And most sightings of Bigfoot are just that, sightings of Bigfoot, not with UFOs. We actually classify those cases as high strangeness cases when there's a UFO and Bigfoot in conjunction with one another.
So I would think when you, like I think of the Great Flood for a second, Fred. They said, did the Great Flood happen or not? But there's 130 countries, when you look into their history, they have stories of the Great Flood. So you have to believe it happened. So when you go to different countries and they got these stories of Bigfoot, and these are societies that didn't interact until the last couple of hundred years, and you have these legends.
Well, even in Pennsylvania, you have newspaper articles. They would call them the wild man in the 30s and in the 40s. They would either call them wild man or apes. So we have a lot of that archived.
Are you familiar with the Dyatlov Pass in Russia? That case that was there. Are you familiar with that one?
Yes, that was supposed to. I had always heard that was supposed to possibly be UFO related, and there was
or Bigfoot.
That was just recently. I think this year they had that. There was a show about that investigation. I don't really. I think that's kind of.
But something happened to these hikers.
Something happened to the hikers.
They're up on a mountain.
I don't know if Bigfoot had anything to do with that, though.
But they cut their way. They cut their way out of the tent. Yeah. They cut their way out of the tent and ran out into 20-degree weather in snow, like something had approached them. And the injuries, the one girl was missing her eyes and her tongue, and the guys had all their bones broken, their ribs and everything, but no scratches, no nothing outside their body.
That would be a human mutilation, actually. I don't
Do you think that's a UFO attack on these people?
Yeah, I think it's a UFO attack.
Well, we'll talk about that in a different show, because there's a lot we can say about this.
Getting back to that, Bigfoot is the only creature on every continent.
Okay.
There's no other creature.
That he's been seen and categorized on each continent. So why don't we find him? What do you think? Why, with all the hunters here in Pennsylvania, why don't we find a Bigfoot carcass?
Well, basically nature does have its own disposal system. Animal dies, rodents, porcupines will eat the bones. Some people say that, like Fred, possibly if they're interdimensional, maybe they can go into another dimension. Possibly they live in caves. Maybe if they know they're sick, maybe they go to a certain place to die. That's the $100,000 question or $1 million question. If you can find that out.
There are animals that do that, right? Don't they?
Elephants will go to a certain place and die. Yes.
But if you look at it, like again, speaking of Stan Gordon, one of his cases, a lady actually shot Bigfoot with a shotgun. He went into a white puff of smoke, just vanished. And like a lot of people, they see a Bigfoot, like I say again, and they just don't shoot at it. I mean,
well, I don't think I'd shoot one. If I saw Bigfoot, I'm not going to shoot him. Why would I shoot him?
Yeah. But most people, if they would see a Bigfoot, they would never say nothing. Especially, if you say you've seen a Bigfoot and a UFO, you're mocked. I mean, it's like, oh wow, this guy's really out of it. And I mean, this is why they don't say it. I mean, like we was down at the Mothman conference over a couple of weeks ago.
West Virginia?
Point Pleasant, West Virginia.
Point Pleasant.
And there was a paranormal group down there that actually did a case for MUFON. And
from Indiana, I believe.
From Indiana, right. And they got the case and they gave it to them to do because it was a paranormal case. And they said that actually Bigfoot, in the field, there was a black swirl, like something swirling in there, and Bigfoot just walked right into it. When he walked into it, it vanished. And you get cases like this all the time, but again, nobody wants to talk about them.
So, for example, the Mutual UFO Network gets 10,000, well, between us and other organizations, we get 10,000 cases a year.
Right.
That's people come forward. How many witnesses do you really think there are? If 10,000 reported, how many people you think witness UFOs?
Witness UFOs?
Yeah, well, only 10,000 report them. But
probably triple that, I would think triple.
You're saying most people won't come forward.
Yeah, right? I'd say maybe first 10,000, I'd say maybe 50,000, right. Yeah.
Okay, so people are basically afraid because of the ridicule factor.
The sheeple.
Well, what is interesting, a lot of UFO investigators don't want to take a case if there's a Bigfoot involved. A lot of Bigfoot researchers, I know one of the major Bigfoot research organizations out there, which I'm not going to mention any names, if you report there was a UFO seen with the Bigfoot, they do not take that case.
Yeah, there seems to be this infighting among UFOs, the ghost hunters, the Bigfoot hunters, where Bigfoot believes they're real, but don't believe in UFOs. UFOs believe they're real, don't believe in ghosts. Ghosts believe they're real, don't believe in UFOs. And there seems to be always this clash between.
See, this is why I say,
believed.
I'll be very honest. You know, I'm a member of his group. He and I do a lot of investigations together. We believe that they're all interconnected. I mean, if you say you've seen a ghost, you've seen it. Okay? I mean, we don't bicker with none of these people. You know, we will try to classify it and put it in somewhere where we can go back again and look at it. And this is one of the problems. People see Bigfoot, okay, like, say for example, we got 15 Bigfoot cases in Pennsylvania. They won't say nothing. If these people would all come forward and tell us what they're seeing, say what UFOs and everything else, we could actually get a database and go from there. It's like last night, Sam and I were talking to a man that was abducted. And again, like I say, a lot of people that see UFOs will see some type of cryptid, including a Bigfoot. He witnessed 5 Bigfoot. 2 juveniles, a woman, actually a female Bigfoot holding a child right next to her, and 3 adults. But, you know, he came out and said that. Now, we would have never known that if he didn't say it.
Right.
But where he said it happened, there's been numerous other Bigfoot sightings around there.
Well, these disappearances, like you said, that's an argument for interdimensional.
Right.
You know, and, you know, it's funny, if you don't research this, you know, because I haven't looked a lot into Bigfoot and crypto, but I've had paranormal activity happen.
Right,
My house, you guys know about that, my kids and stuff. I've actually now gone to the Bible, taking a look, and, you know, they say there is this spirit world right around us.
Right.
And there's this constant battle goes on between good and evil, Jesus and the devil. And I'm starting to wonder, that stuff's real.
Right.
And these interdimensionals real. And there's no reason why a species that's 1,000 years, 100,000 years ahead of us can't fly here. So all the possibilities are a possibility.
Okay, to change the subject, we'll still stay with Bigfoot here.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll plug somebody here. Dave Politis.
Okay. He just wrote a book.
Right, 411 Missing. Dave is saying that, okay, what the book is about is people that end up missing and you don't find them or whatever. But if you go to a lot of your federal parks, if you're walking through the park with your child and he runs ahead of you, when he comes around the corner and you go there, he's not there.
Just boom, gone.
Boom, he's gone. You don't know where he's at. You may never see him again. But they have reasonable cause to believe now that it's a Bigfoot that actually is taking these kids. I mean, this man's the next cop. And I mean, he's putting his you know, on the line here. And the kids that they have found, they found them in places that they couldn't get to by themselves. And they always say that the bear took them.
Oh, so they call, like, is that an Indian thing to say that the bear took them, or
No,
that's
no,
just
the kids don't know a Bigfoot.
Yeah, okay.
A kid will know a teddy bear, but he don't know a Bigfoot.
Okay.
So now you have this happening. I think it's getting to the point now where the federal government's actually, they turn around and say you can't take pictures in federal parks no more.
Right.
Because of that. But Bigfoot is out there.
That's
I
a
mean,
scary
there's no
prospect.
doubt about it.
When you think about it, like, you know, my son once asked me when I talked about abductions.
Yeah.
You know, we looked it up. 250,000 people a year in the United States disappear. 90% of them come back, they're runaways. 10%, about 25, 30,000 people a year, gone.
Right.
Gone. And when you look at that figure in national parks, it's probably 4 or 5 times that number.
And not only that, you got, okay, one of the people that's going to be speaking at the conference, Daryl Sims. Daryl has in his book that there has been numerous times Bigfoot has been seen on a UFO by an abductee. So, I mean, you know, you have them seeing him there, you have them seeing him here and there and everywhere. I mean, so.
Most researchers, though, you know, that we deal with, they're strict flesh and blood. They you know, they think that there is an entity, a physical creature out there that is not interdimensional or is not.
He's just another primate that's
just,
here,
yes.
like Gigantopithecus. It's just another species that we haven't quite captured.
And some of the other things that we work with, we've had reports of these winged entities that they're calling gargoyles up in Chicora, Pennsylvania, since 2011.
The Thunderbirds, can they be the Thunderbirds?
Well, Thunderbirds is you know, a giant bird that's been seen a lot in Westmoreland County and other areas.
We just got a report yesterday. I got it in the mail. I gave to Brian about a Thunderbird was seen down in
Elizabeth, I think.
Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Elizabeth.
You know, about 8 years ago, I had a pair of Dobermans. I always have Dobermans. We were on my deck. I heard it was dusk. I heard what could have been a hawk. My dogs, these are two 90-pound dogs, they kind of turned tail and went to the door, wanted to go inside. And it was when there were Thunderbird sightings in Westmoreland County, right on Route 119.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, we went in the house.
well, some of the, we've actually been taking the lead on some of these dogman cases. We're one of the few people who research this, and especially in the eastern side of the
dogman.
What is a dogman?
A dogman is it's like a Bigfoot, but he's got a dog head. He's a werewolf.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Oh, okay.
And again, I think a lot of times people have been misinterpreting Bigfoot. It's actually a dog man, but being that it's big and it's hairy and this and that, they call it a Bigfoot. Now, Brian and a group is working on a case up in Mercer
County
on a dog boy. Okay, and it's out there. I mean, you got cryptids everywhere, but people are afraid to report them. That's the whole thing.
But we also find footprints.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody years ago when I went to the first Bigfoot conference, I was given a cast from Oregon with a police report, and you know the cast is very anatomically correct, the depth based on the weight and everything. But there are a lot of casts that are found, right?
Yes.
I got one out in the corner.
Okay.
And we actually have one from Dr. Paul Johnson's group, this Pennsylvania Center for UFO Studies. The best, to me, it's the best cast that I've seen, and it's from 1974 in Allegheny County, and it's of a four-toed creature. One of the very few ones that there was a creature actually seen. It was actually seen on December 29th, looking at Christmas lights. Okay. The kids found it. They called Dr. Paul Johnson's group. They came out there, and they casted it early that next morning.
So what do most of the casts look like? How many toes? Are they flat-footed? Are they arched? Like
Normally 5 toes.
They have
but,
5.
Pennsylvania has had a lot of 3-toed, as Fred can attest to, a lot of 3-toed prints, especially in the 70s. Especially in the 70s.
Okay. And they're big, like size 15, 19, probably weighing what, 400, 500, 600 pounds?
Yeah, 500 to 600 pounds. I guess the average height being seen is what, about almost 7 foot?
7 to 8 foot.
That's incredible. Now, what would you? Now, your wife is one of our MUFON investigators.
Yeah.
Terry's
the state section director in
so,
Pennsylvania.
what if you and Terry are out picnicking, whatever? What would you do? You run into a Bigfoot. What would you do?
She would probably run the other way, and I'd run toward it. I want to see one. That's my.
But they have duck people. What are you going to do when you run toward it? He might eat you.
We can't live forever, John.
I'll enjoy the days I have.
See, that's what a lot of your groups. Okay, like your ghost hunters and your UFO hunters. Ghost hunters do go out in the cold. UFO hunters don't go out in the cold. Bigfoot researchers, encrypted researchers, it's the whole thing. If they see them, like I said, everybody runs. If we're in 3 feet of snow and we see them, we take off after them.
Well, that group is made up predominantly of hunters, wouldn't you say?
No.
No? You don't think a lot of those guys are hunters?
A lot are, but not all.
Okay.
Not all are hunters, no.
A lot of the hunters are, they don't believe in none of this stuff. You can talk to them, they say you're crazy.
Okay, they say it's a mangy bear or something, and that's a bear that has a lot of the
Although
fur.
we have gotten a lot of reports from hunters. Some hunters, actually, after they see this, they won't go back in the woods again. They're done hunting. So that tells you something really affected them. So that this is their life, guys. I used to work at Gander Mountain, and those people up there were diehard deer hunters, and some of them have seen them, and they won't go back into the wood.
You know, you also mentioned gargoyles, etc. Now, the Air Force in 1968 did a study. Actually, their physics book had a chapter on UFOs. Said there's 3 or 4 species. So when you talk about the 3 or 4 species, you have your grays, you have your Nordics, you have your insectoids, you have your reptoids. And people have said the reptile type ones are the ones that we've misidentified as gargoyles.
Right.
Well, we just actually came back from Bishopsville, South Carolina on vacation, and that's where the lizard man was seen.
Okay.
So
a lot of those legends can be this misidentification of a reptilian species that's
possibly,
here.
yes.
Right. They're out there. I mean, the whole thing is, John, people are seeing these things. Where did they come from?
Where do they go?
And where do they go?
Yeah.
I mean, how was it that you can have like the frogman in Loveland, Ohio?
Loveland,
they've seen it 2 times now. But they seen it, and where did it go? It came and it's gone. Then it comes back again.
The best video, which we've looked at, is the Patterson-Gimlin.
Right.
and that shows the Bigfoot walking.
Right.
If it's a suit, how do they get the muscular structure in the legs, the hips,
Right,
as it
right.
as it turns and looks? How do they do that? You know,
Back then.
Right, back in the
You know,
60s,
yeah.
anatomically it was correct.
Right.
And that's one of the best
Films
videos,
right.
films that are out
I was
there.
able to actually talk to Bob Gimlin at an Ohio Bigfoot
Oh, okay.
conference, and he believes that what they saw was a real animal,
Yeah.
and he does.
Name some other type of cryptos. What else is there?
Oh, there's the chupacabra. There's the I'm trying to think. There's a Loch Ness monster.
Loch Ness.
Help me out here, Fred. There's so many different ones, different names.
Well, the chupacabra originated down in Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico.
That really
Right.
means bloodsucker.
Well, a lot of people think that the chupacabra is actually a government experiment went awry. I mean, you know, and that's what happened there. You get down into Puerto Rico, you get down to that one area down there, there's all kind of stuff happening down there.
the El Yunque rainforest.
I mean, there's all kind of weird animals down there. And whole South America, I mean, when you get to Brazil and Argentina, personally, I'd be afraid to go half them places down there because of what they're seeing. I mean, you know, it's unreal.
Well, in the future, we're not only going to talk about UFOs, we're going to talk about some of the crypto and some of these other creatures that are out there. So, anything else you want to add?
And also, Brian and I used to write an article for the Hancock County Courier on cryptids.
We taught a cryptozoology class, the
yeah.
first one in Ohio.
And I mean, you know, a lot of people are interested, but like I say, they're afraid.
Okay.
They're
Well,
afraid to talk
thanks for
about it.
being on the show. That's our show for this week. Be sure to look for our next episode and visit MUFONPA.com for more information. If there's anything you've seen on this show that you want to ask me about, email me at jventuri1@comcast.net. Thank you.